Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network.
Oh, and by the way, I am entirely certain that Melania Trump's statement was written by ChatGPT. There's no doubt. If you read it, I mean, is it me or was it weird? It was weird. It was a weird. There were a lot of weird things that she said in that statement. It was a page and a half, and it was very clear. Yeah, it was like the written equivalent of those janky, AI images that we see that have six fingers and weird mouths and askew eyeballs, and yeah, it was just very odd.
Latka from Taxi into a,
yeah, they rang out. She said they tried to wring out his passion, which I don't understand what that means, and she misspelled ring. I just said ChatGPT misspelled ring because it's WRING.
But it was regarding the being of the best, wasn't it? The being of the best.
No. Well, she's got a history too. She plagiarized 2 Michelle Obama speeches.
Be best.
I mean, not once, but twice. She did it twice.
Be best.
Like, well, no one noticed the first time, so I'll just do it again. No one will notice then. But of course, everyone noticed.
That was my original sexy liberal bit, as I did her giving a speech that it quoted every famous president in history. Like
Be best.
Like it was her.
Perfect, yes.
Ask not what you can do for your country.
Did like Aaron Sorkin take too much meth or something and then write this news cycle?
I will ask Lawrence O'Donnell.
That's right. And are we not all just grappling on to Lawrence O'Donnell right now? We're just all like,
I physically did. Physically koala'd on him.
I saw, and Kimberly and I were here just so jealous because we wanted to be in that booth with all of you that night with Lawrence O'Donnell. And just say, please tell us it's going to be okay, Lawrence.
Yeah. Well, you and Kimberly have been, as like all of us, steadfast about what are we doing? Same as Lawrence has been saying, this close to the convention. And it hasn't stopped, Bob, despite all the news. Like now it's like, Democrats are still panicked and blah, blah, blah. I mean, and as I've said, I've gone on record. Whatever Joe Biden decide, he is the only one. And I know we all have to say, none of us know what's going on behind the scenes. Right.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, by the way, if he ever decided to step down, whether it's now or when he gets reelected, and I'm all for passing the torch to Kamala Harris. So I'm not, but it
of course.
Right. But I just don't. We talked about that I don't think a scrappy Irishman from Scranton. First of all, have you noticed he's not taking very well to being asked to quit? Scrappy Irishman from Scranton don't quit.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason I don't
know
that he would resign, because we were saying that would be the only other way that you would stop this stupid fantasy football and how about this person and that person, and the rightful person who's Kamala Harris.
And he'd have to wait for a filibuster-proof Senate to do that.
Yeah. Anyway, but Bob, what do you?
And of course, every time there's another outlier poll, everyone's screaming about it all over social media about how it's the end of the world as we know it. Yeah, and you got to look. What have we been talking about all along here? The polls individually are janky. You really have to start focusing on the aggregators, the ones that are putting all of the polls through, an algorithm, and then combining that. 538 in particular combines that with fundamentals, which is the state of the economy, how people perceive issues and their own lives and their own financial situation. And in that regard, they're showing Joe Biden more competitive than ever. I mean, Joe Biden is doing better now than he did, more than a month ago, according to that metric and according to that model. And so, and then, of course, there are lots of people who know many, many things about how elections work, who are talking to people on the ground and are really, really confident about Joe Biden's chances in this election, as am I.
Right.
Because there are factors in all of this. I mean, we've seen have we not watched the last 10 days of news, or the last 2 weeks plus of news, where things are changing so rapidly and new developments are occurring? Joe Biden's rolling out new policies left and right. I mean, between wanting to cap rents at 5%, which is an incredible move to make if he's able to do it, if he's able to push it through Congress, and there's no reason to doubt that he can, because he's done it before. He's pushed many things through this divided Congress.
Yeah.
And so I'm confident in that, plus this package of reforms for the Supreme Court. is very positive. We're looking at an interest rate cut in September. These are all, when you talk about 538 and that polling aggregator, including the fundamentals, those are the fundamentals. Those are the things that people react to, and that influences their vote. I'm very, very confident the Biden coalition from 2020 is going to reform, and you're starting to see signs of it now. So that's all positive.
Unemployment
news.
10 when Trump left. Unemployment 4.
Right.
I'm not great at math.
And granted, and granted, Kamala Harris does pretty well in some of the polls against Donald Trump, but that's in a complete vacuum. That's without any scrutiny, any vetting, any news reports, any MAGA noise machines screaming about.
Are you suggesting they would engage in racism or sexism?
How very dare you, sir?
Goodness gracious, Bob! Aren't we unified?
I mean, it would be so unfair to Kamala Harris. It would be so unfair to black leadership across the board to put her in a position where she has to push back against all of this within just 110 days. Right.
Yeah.
That's not nearly enough time. If she had a couple of years to run a normal presidential campaign, I'm extremely confident that she would be victorious and that campaign would be robust and successful. But giving her 110 days, the first black woman presidential nominee from the Democratic Party, that is unfair to her, and it would be unfair to, I think, voters and democracy.
I've said this over and over again, that my best case scenario has always been the right wing's, worst case scenario is that Biden at some point decides to step down and pass the torch, and then she becomes, the first black woman president. She'll do a great job. She'll pick a great vice president. America has time to get used to it. So, black lady. Right. But anyway, I again, as we keep saying, Bob, none of us are behind the scenes or know what it's just. But at this point, I don't understand. I would understand it, frankly, if Biden had dropped like 10 points, after the debate, or even this latest thing this past weekend. But it's tied, Bob. It's the same.
Yeah. In fact, he's gaining in many polls as well. I mean, in many poll aggregators too. And so in that regard, that shows the resilience of Joe Biden as a candidate, that he's been able to withstand this intense scrutiny, all these Brutuses lining up to jab him in the back. And also he's surviving. That's incredible.
The backlash from people like you and I and the Democrat. That's why I love that our partner for Sexy Liberal is grassrootsdems.org, because the grassroots Democrats are the ones that nominated him. 14 million of us, so.
Right. And conversely, I'm beginning to think that some of the opposition to Joe Biden coming from the side of the normals is maybe a little astroturfed. Maybe there's an agenda driving some of this, because now it's getting to the point of ridiculousness where it feels like a lot of these people are they're seeing the polls, they're seeing Joe Biden holding steady in the polls, if not gaining, and they want to deliberately drag that down so that they can have an excuse to, force him out as the nominee, which he's not going to do.
By the way, speaking of, again, double standards in the media, which we talk about all the time, we do our best to both of us. But we've been exchanging show bodily fluids since 1904. So you sent us this Trump talking about
my favorite thing. I love this.
Yes, about his
JP, right? J.D. Mandel.
What?
Yeah.
His vice presidential running mate is someone named J.D. Mandel.
Yes.
See, no one asks any questions about that. Well, it's Trump. Trump will be Trump. Boys will be boys. Why bother asking him about all of his many verbal and mental glitches, including referring to his vice presidential nominee as J.D. Mandel, which sounds like a yacht rock singer from 1978, by the way.
I love yacht rock. You retweeted. So the first time my friends' kids walked in my house, are like, "Oh, my grandma listens to this music." Anyway,
what's wrong with Seals
J.P. Mandel and the Mandel sisters?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
Barbara, all of them.
Great variety show.
Barbara.
By the way, so you retweeted Stuart Stevens, who said, "Few know the real story of international investment banker J.D. Vance, who was mentored by globalist Thiel. That's the Peter Thiel who wrote a book with the Putin defender David Sachs that accused women of claiming they've been raped out of belated regret. But since a multicultural rape charge may indicate nothing more than belated regret, a woman might realize she'd been raped the next day or maybe many days later. If Trump picks him, the truth will come out about who Vance really is, and it will be glorious. Well, it already is. I mean, he's trying to erase his rabid anti-choice stuff on his website. His website now, this tells you everything you need to know. It just redirects to Donald Trump's website. Just whatever. I have no independent thought. Whatever he says. Pathetic.
Yeah. I mean, everyone thinks that Donald Trump is some sort of genius of marketing or whatever. J.D. Vance gives Donald Trump nothing. You know why he picked J.D. Vance? Well, Hal Sparks has the best theory about that, because Trump refuses to have anyone else on the poster who's got a longer name than he has. He has to have the same number of syllables, both one-syllable last names, because Donald Trump is so teeny tiny with his brittle ego. He can't handle someone up there like Ramaswamy, who would take up most of the poster.
And apparently Cokie and Gummy are the ones that talked him into J.D. Vance, Don Jr. and I'm Eric. We're like, because he's a young douche bro like they are. Oh my God. Remember when we had to hear Barack Obama's one qualified to be president because he's only been in the Senate for a minute and blah. Really? Yeah. J.D. Vance is 39 and been in the Senate for 2 seconds. And
That's right. When I saw that he wasn't even around in 1984, that makes me, the Gen X in me goes, oh,
that's Orwellian.
This guy can't be for real.
That's Orwellian, I mean, how could
he was not around to see Raiders of the Lost Ark in the theater. What's wrong with him? Get off the stage, little boy.
Child.
That's,
by the way,
I mean, seriously, I mean, he brings nothing to the table. In fact, all he's going to do is further anger women and drive women out to vote against the Trump-Vance ticket. That's absolutely what's going to happen now. Good job,
farther. It's hard to be more of a Putin, than Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that, too.
He's literally like, just give Ukraine to I don't care. Yep. Anyway, can I just say thank you because you... We thought we were taking crazy pills, and we just said at least other people are starting to talk about this double standard with the medical records, that you're like, there's been no, and this is not conspiracy theory. This is just, you keep demanding Joe Biden do this, and where's this medical record, and what, Buzz Burbank said, I'm sorry, that was not, you just said, you retweeted Daily Beast, neither the Trump campaign nor the hospital where he was injured on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania has released any information about the former president's treatment, diagnosis, or condition. And you said, to be clear, I'm not disputing the injury. I'm pointing out that Trump's ongoing compunction to conceal or falsify his medical condition. Why is that? I'm also asking why the press hasn't been briefed by anyone about the injury and treatment. Why the secrecy? And obviously, you can see him on the golf course with no bandage, and then he decided to go with the Kotex look for the...
It's, the injury is supposed to have nicked the top of his ear, and he's got the giant bandage covering his whole
entire head.
Don't tell me he's not playing this up. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has a long history of falsifying and concealing his medical records. Yep. Remember, he dictated his medical report to Dr. Bornstein while sitting out in a limousine outside the doctor's office.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, right as Donald Trump became president, he sent his bodyguard in there, Keith Schiller, I think the guy's name was, to steal all of Donald Trump's medical records from Dr. Bornstein's office. Why is that happening? He sent Ronnie Jackson out into the White House press room to lie about Donald Trump's medical status. And now the latest report comes from NBC News. They're saying a Trump advisor on Tuesday declined to answer specific questions about the former president's injury, telling NBC News that any statements about Trump's health, his condition, and medical care related to his ear would come directly from the former president.
Oh, of course.
There's a reliable source.
Well, I was going to say, what more reliable source? Yes, Dr.
And then
Bornstein
Ronnie Jackson
mysteriously.
Ronnie Jackson,
I was going to say, Dr. Bornstein mysteriously died, much like Havana.
Yeah, right.
Or was it
murder?
Sorry, Bob.
And then we heard that Ronnie Johnson, as Donald Trump called him a couple of weeks ago, treated Donald Trump, changed the dressing on the ear on the plane to Milwaukee. So another reliable source treating Donald Trump, and we're not getting any information about that. And now it's getting to the point of being suspicious. Where why are they concealing this? What are they trying to hide?
And
These are all raising questions. If they want to quash all of the conspiracy theories, they should at least
take
have
the bandage
some
off.
Sort
Let us
of
see.
Report from the doctors who treated him on the day.
Well, the hair might be stuck in it.
Oh, maybe for his speech, he'll take it off and it'll start gushing, fake blood, and then he'll hold his hands up and he has stigmatas, and then they'll actually have him on a cross giving his...
But if they gave him stitches, maybe his hair got caught in it.
Oh, okay. Bob, you know, you're a cyclist.
You're
a cyclist like me, and it reminds me. Remember when Craig used to live here, my buddy, and I was in a boy bike gang. We used to ride. You know, we did. We rode every week, like me and 30-something guys.
Okay.
And I was not aware how they insulted each other because I'm just saying Trump looked like a giant. See, with that Kotex on his ear.
Yeah.
But remember, they used to say to each other if one of them wasn't keeping up. Oh, is your tampon loose? Do you have sand? Do you have sand in your vagina? I didn't realize that's how guys insult each other.
See,
so you got a Kotex on your ear?
Some guys.
As I was watching cable news after the event happened, I immediately went to buckwheat being shot and that Saturday Night Live bit. So as I'm seeing cable news, I keep thinking in my head, life goes on and Texon is there, which was the sponsor when buckwheat got shot on Saturday Night Live. That's my twisted brain, and I think 4 other people get what I'm talking about.
We get it. I hadn't even heard this J.D. Vance quote. Wow, the circle of suckery is complete. Donald Trump is as healthy as anybody I've ever met. I tell him all the time he has ridiculous genes.
Ridiculous.
Yes,
right.
Trump was born with a ridiculous gene, as you said, Bob.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, that's right. Scientists have identified the ridiculous gene, and they've traced it directly to Donald Trump.
It's the gene that makes you think you're going to look tough with a Kotex on your ear.
Yes, I mean, what else explains Don Jr. and Eric? They've both got the ridiculous gene, too. They're loaded with ridiculous genes.
I just picture Clint Eastwood turning to the side. Do I have 5 or 6? You see this Kotex on my ear? Okay.
They're handing those things out. You see the guy on the floor of the convention wearing just a square of like an index card on his ear.
The reporter's like, is that an envelope? Did you make that in the hotel room or what?
Just the cosplay around Donald Trump. I mean, Lynn Wood, the guy, remember Lynn Wood actually dresses like Donald Trump with the hat and the overcoat and the red tie and the.
We haven't even gotten to dead brain room guy on the phone with Trump. Oh my God. So our Bobby Kennedy Jr., they're talking anti-vax lunacy.
It's mainly just Donald talking.
And also Trump saying we're going to win. I'm like, there's no conspiracies. It's all out in front. There's Bobby Kennedy with Steve Bannon and Mike Flynn and Roger Stone and Trump calling him. I mean, I'm like, oh my God.